if I can. Great. Hi,
Hello, Jenny Dean. Good to see you.
you too. How have
Love
you
the
been doing?
excellent. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm so happy to come on today. We wanted to actually talk to our audience regarding emotional eating,
Yeah,
and also how it can affect you biochemically. And it's so fascinating, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah. I would
Yeah,
even say any digestive issues are emotional digestive issues.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we've all been through our challenges, like when I couldn't get pregnant. That's my cat, I'm sorry. I can't, oh
Too
my gosh,
fun. Yeah.
comedy of it. So when I couldn't get pregnant for 5 years, and then I became pregnant after just meeting a holistic nutritionist within 4 months, and I had a hard time with my, cycle. And I was, yeah, sure, I was emotionally eating because I didn't know any better at the time,
Yeah.
right? And I just find it fascinating how much there is such a correlation between what our body needs and tells us it needs and what it really should have, right? What we actually need in our body.
Yes.
So I also wanted to bring you on today because you have amazing experience and story to tell as well with your background and how that affected your journey. Would you like to share that with everyone?
Sure. Yeah. So super happy to be here because about 6 years ago, conventional medicine would have said I wouldn't be here. I had had a pancreatic cancer diagnosis. So,
Wow,
yeah, talk about that emotional center, right? And what's more related
absolutely.
to eating and digestion than your pancreas? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So if people don't know this, the pancreas, so that's what shoots out the insulin to keep us in the right state for balance, for energy, and for blood sugar. Is that
yeah.
correct?
It works with the liver, so yeah, yeah,
Right. So
and
great.
also the digestive juices, right? So the pancreas is an endocrine and an exocrine, so
Hmm.
it creates those digestive enzymes that go into that digestive tract to assist you at the same time as creating that insulin within your inner system. Yeah.
Right. And they all work together with the pancreas and your liver, right? And your gallbladder to
Yep.
get those juices going in your body.
Your
So when
stomach.
you,
Yeah.
right, through your
Yeah.
stomach, yeah, to assimilate all the good nutrients and then the bad, like the nutrients you don't need, the stuff you don't need, to put it through your whole bloodstream to nourish you on all
Yeah.
levels. And so when you had that diagnosis, what was going on with you emotionally at that time? Was there anything before that, leading up to that, that you want to
Well, that's the
share?
thing. It's a pattern, right? Yeah. Thank you for asking.
You're
So,
welcome, hon.
absolutely, I had changed all areas of my life. I had moved from my hometown of 45 years. I changed where I lived. I had gotten out of a 30-year marriage, so I changed my relationship. And with leaving that marriage, I left my 30-year career. So
Oh,
every
yes.
area of my life changed. And you want to talk about stress or negative emotions, it doesn't matter how much you want the change, that it's sometimes a lot for your nervous system to handle. Yeah.
It sure is. It sure is. And we all, I don't know about you, but as women, we want to wear superwoman capes, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we can
yeah.
do everything,
Yeah.
right? But we know, like, as women, as intuitives, so like we know what's going on in our body. But I mean, I understand what you're saying because I learned through different lessons about listening to my body and trying to figure out what it's saying, and I ignored it a lot too. Hence our learning journey as well, with not eating the right foods or picking certain things, or even not in the right relationships you know
Yeah. Well, we think
it's
we think we know what we want, and the body's giving us feedback if that's really in alignment, right? We're
That's right.
multidimensional, and it's like your first relationship is you with your body and listening to it. So I love that you were saying you learned
Right.
to listen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish there was a course for like youth in school, like even in high school, because wouldn't that be so valuable as they become adults?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's coming. The world's making rapid changes right now, and there's some really great people doing good work taking, like even just the simple act of meditation, right? That's
Yes.
listening.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And even breathing, like I know breathing for me, it really helps my nervous system calm down a lot. Like I've used that so many times in my life to calm it down and just it just makes you feel more grounded and you can be more center with your intuition and with your what you're going to be doing to start your day.
Yeah.
Almost like self-care time for yourself, right? What kind of triggers do you feel that people go through when they choose? Like, it's not just about us, like self-will all the time, because people live busy lives. They can't always decide when they're choosing the right foods or not the right foods. But that comes back down to getting a little more organized and trying to see what you have, like what you like writing down your meals and sort of balancing it that way. It's practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good to see it as it is, right? And a lot of people
Yeah.
will be like, "No, I eat healthy." And okay, well, tell me more about that. And it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
your definition of healthy is this, this, and this. Is that
Right.
really sustainable? Is that really what you need?" Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that like I don't know about you, but like it's not no judgment at all. It's more education, right? We're trying to educate people. And as we learn from our own journeys, we can share that with other people, which is amazing too, you know? And I think with your journey, which what's fascinating about it is that like did that catapult you into this field?
Actually, no, it probably started back 40 years ago.
Okay,
I
yeah,
really
okay.
had some, you have experiences with what is called mainstream medical, and they don't always get the results and heal you, right? It's like, oh, well, yeah, I can get by doing that. I was in my 20s, I was pre-type 2 diabetes. So that gives an
Yeah.
indication of there's something going on with the pancreas. And that's what we're not told, right? There's something going on there. So you can address it. And that's when I first learned, long before it was popular, to eat keto, right? Which was
Yes.
more protein and low starch vegetables with healthy
Okay.
fats. I always believed in butter over margarine. It just, I was
Me
raised on
too.
a farm, so I had
Yeah.
those were the natural, less ingredients, the healthier it is, right?
Exactly, exactly. And did you find like from your 20s to now, like what have you changed in your eating? Do you notice a big difference in what you're doing that's a little bit different?
Yeah, I would call it more of, and you could call it intuitive eating, as long as you don't have an addiction or an allergy. Your
Right.
body's usually craving something it needs. Like, yeah,
Right.
you'll crave an addictive substance. So that's why it's important to rule it out and see it, as you were talking earlier about seeing what you are eating. Is this an addictive substance? Does it have the potential for that? And is it sustainable in the long run that I eat like that? Like sugar's a great example because yes, it's highly addictive, and no, it's not sustainable because it's refined and robbed of all its cofactors. So it's actually robbing your body from the other B vitamins needed to process it because of the form it comes in these days. Is it okay to sometimes have some in a natural form? For sure. If
Yeah.
you have overcome that propensity for that craving, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
where it
Mm-hmm.
goes, that first step is abstaining from it. So,
Exactly. And that's a whole thing. Like sometimes people choose, like they're on the run and they choose, like, they go get some donuts or in a coffee just to get them home or whatever, bag of like chips or whatever it might be. And, I used to do that too. I remember it's the thing is, though, it's not sustaining us, right? And it's causing other troubles. And in fact, and then when you go on the hypoglycemic, roller coaster ride, you can feel good for the moment, it gets you home, and then when you get home and the kids want your attention or your husband or wife are talking to you, then that's when you don't have the energy for it. And, it can cause other troubles as well that you don't have to actually realize by just the little choices you make can make a huge difference positively or negatively in your life, but it's hard to decide what to pick at the time. You don't always know
yeah,
because you don't know what you don't know, and people are just trying to get by.
yeah,
But I think there comes a point where in your life where you are don't want to just get by anymore and you want to thrive. And
yeah,
that's where we talk to our clients and they're ready to make these changes, right? They're ready to like get healthy because when you're eating, don't go out for a nice dinner. We don't think, what are we giving our liver today? But I do a little bit more now as a nutritionist. Like I know those foods now, but at the time, like you don't think you kind of take our organs for granted.
Yeah,
But
it's like
you know,
parenting yourself, right? You're
yes,
not going to let your child eat lollipops all day. You know they're going to be sick and hard to handle, not to mention, right? So it's the same
exactly.
with your body. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And what do you think happens to the body? Like, what are the biochemical reactions happening in the body when people are triggered with certain cravings with stress or anxiety?
Well, honestly, since we're talking about eating and emotional eating, I do think it's more of like a craving for a good feeling. If they
Mm,
actually are listening, why is it that I want to eat this today? And usually, there's a reason comfort food is called comfort food, right?
right?
You get some comfort from it. You have maybe a good memory or association to a grandmother that made cookies, or, that
Yeah,
sweet feeling, that, satisfaction of biting into something that's, chewy and salty and sweet all at the same time. It's an
right.
association that you've made with it. Whereas you could make that association with something that's really sustainable as well. It's just, how we've trained our body. So we just
That's right.
train again.
That's right. And actually, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but even on your journey, like the foods you actually wouldn't even have tried before or didn't know you liked, you end up loving it. And you surprise yourself how much your body feels rejuvenating just by trying those new vegetables or the new herbs or the new meats, even that you haven't had in the diet, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. And I know it's people want to try to like treat themselves celebratory, and there's a lot of celebrations with food. So I understand that's a big culture as well in our society. I think, though, if you still want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But I think if you have changed what you're eating and a relationship with yourself, it starts with the relationship, how you feel. And then 90% of the time, if you're doing that right, I think that 10% of the time, you know, you can feel that guilt free if you want to indulge, and have that as your treat sort of meal, for the
Yeah,
week.
I love that you said that, because if you're eating with the feeling of guilt, on some level, you're feeding your body the biochemistry of the emotion of guilt. That's called a neurotransmitter. So every time you have a thought, like I shouldn't be eating this, and you feel guilt, your body is producing chemistry that is depleting to yourself. Now, guilt carries a really good message if you're doing something um, that is bad. And typically, like something that is really crossing the moral lines and things like that. I mean, we
Yeah,
all do
yeah.
little things.
Right, right.
Typically, you weren't allowed to express it as a child. So you've got that backlog to deal with that's
Right,
there. Yeah.
right. That's interesting. It's almost, I like how that you use the word backlog because that's exactly how the body is, what's happening to the body, like the intestines and the gut, it gets sluggish, right? And it can back up, like getting rid of waste.
Yeah.
And your circulation, your blood cannot be as vibrant. And there's like it's over time. And I read once that I think it's over a 7 year cycle when your cells regenerate. That's when things can change either way for you. Actually, and people find every 7 years they sort of go through like a detox or a change in the body.
Yeah,
Um,
it is said that every cell in your body, some turn over way faster, like your skin is the fastest one. And interestingly, like your gut is made up of skin. Anything that's exposed to the external, your entire digestive tract is actually one of the easier things to heal. It's
mm,
just to know that you need to do that and start there.
mm. I love how you said that. Can you expand more on that?
About knowing that you need to heal your gut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the how you said it's the easiest thing to because that's what I believe too when I talk to all my clients. But I just like how you just resonated. Could you go into a little more detail on that? Like how to heal the gut and sort of like even with emotions, like sort of I mean not I mean just as a generalized point of view as well for viewers.
Sure. Well, my perspective, and I know as a coach, we all have our own processes and ways of leading our clients through, is first you need to stop the things that are hurting you.
Right. Yeah.
physically and emotionally. So
Yeah.
getting tuned in, so stop the things that are addictive and are allergies at the current moment, because you may be
Yeah.
able to eat those again. Most people, myself, I couldn't eat dairy, I couldn't eat um, wheat or even any grains or starches, that my digestive tract was so broken down at the beginning, and I had to go
Yes.
all the way back and stop just eating those things that were irritating it, knowing that that wasn't forever. And I think when
Right.
people are resistant to it, they think something that they desire is getting taken away, when
Exactly.
truthfully, yeah, truthfully, you're going to be able to have anything you want. The body restores. It's always returning to homeostasis. You just got to get off that track where it's unsustainable. So,
Right. And I think also like how the brain and the gut, the heart, they're all communicating all the time.
yeah.
It's getting off that feedback loop, right? It's stopping that feedback loop, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's healing that. So yeah, you stop what's depleting you, and then you
Hmm.
got to detox, because a lot of the things in our diets, the refined foods and quick foods that people are eating, are full of other things, and everything's information. Your body's taking
Yes.
it in, and we
Yes.
want to throw out the stuff that's no good. And if the body can't deal with it, if the liver's overworked because you're eating nonstop, heavy fats and processed foods, and the liver becomes what they call non-alcoholic fatty liver, right?
That's right. Yes.
If you develop that, it's to stop what's causing it. And then over time, everything heals. The body will, so you stop, you detox, you go through that process of really cleaning. It's like cleaning your house. You want to go into every corner, you want to clean the dust, you want to clean out the closets, you want to bring everything out and then let go of what's no longer serving you. And that means physically and emotionally.
It
And so
really does. It really
mind
does.
and bodies, like, yeah.
I love how you said that. Yeah, the mind and the body is so connected too. Hmm.
Yeah. And then the last thing would be to give what's needed. So it's almost like planting a garden, right? You're going to go in there. You're not going to plant when you're preparing the soil. So you got to go in and you got to stop everything and you got to do some cleanup, right? And that, however, whatever form that looks like, there are multiple different ways. We all, as nutritionists and health
Oh,
providers,
so many ways. Yeah.
we have our tools in our toolkit, right?
Yes, we
This is
do.
going to help you. It's going to help you if you have candida. This is going to help you if you have, something else going on. This is,
Exactly. Parasites or heavy metals or whatever it would be. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
exactly.
All of the
Yeah.
things.
Even
So,
leaky gut too, right? Like if someone isn't assimilating the nutrients properly or they have a high inflammatory levels, right? We can help them with that too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And when we're eating these high levels of gluten, that's breaking apart those gut junctions, right? That's one of the things, that's the glyphosate that's in that's the toxins, right? They come along with the food, because all of our wheat in North America is contaminated with that modified product now. So it's important to eat clean so we're not adding layers to that. And then the body can begin to reform and no more leaky
Yeah.
gut. Yeah.
It's so amazing how the body can actually heal itself once it's given the right tools. And that's why we both start with food as a foundation and build clients up from there with
Yeah.
our protocols, but also with our intuition and our knowing to speak to someone's heart and soul, not just treat them like in segments like they do in the medical system. We treat them as a whole person because we know there's so much innate wisdom in our bodies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And the important thing that I learned on my journey, right, it was that medical system developed for a reason. People did get into these emergency states. And much as I don't care for their way of helping people heal, if you are in an emergency situation, they will keep you alive.
Oh,
And they
absolutely.
have, yeah, amazing diagnostics. So I want people to know it can be both.
I agree with you.
If you end up there because you got a diagnosis, well, their prognosis does not have to be the outcome. You just need to go looking for something else. So,
Exactly. And I love my doctor too. And I know they get a bad rap because people are frustrated, but people don't realize like they're trained to diagnose and to treat the symptoms where we fill in those gaps so we can help build the person up. And I encourage like pretty much all my clients to still work with their doctors, but tell them what they're
absolutely.
doing because then they can follow up with their blood work and get maybe some feces tests or different things they can get done. And the doctors love it. Like they work hard to become a doctor. And I don't think any doctor wants to become a doctor if they didn't want to serve and help people. Like
Yeah.
I would think that would be their intention,
Yeah.
going into the field initially.
Yeah,
It's
and
too bad.
they do life-saving interventions.
Oh, they sure
It's up
do.
to each person to take responsibility and go to the next step, right?
Exactly. And I can see how it could be frustrating for them too when they're telling a patient over and over again what to do and they just don't do it too. But people have a choice where they can say, okay, doc, like I hear what you're saying, but I'd like to start with, Tracy or Jenny, because I'd like to start with changing my diet completely. And then can we reassess this in 3 months, and then keep them in the loop and then, you know,
Yeah,
follow up with them so that they can be weaned off medication or they can have things changed medically, but with the supervision of a doctor.
absolutely. Yeah, you don't know what
Mm.
you don't know, and they have some of the most amazing diagnostics. Like when I ended up in the hospital, I had a little bit of back pain and I was tired.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
who hasn't had that? And I didn't know what I didn't know until one morning there was a excruciating pain. So then I knew I had to go in. So that's where what I didn't know had progressed to a serious situation.
Oh, wow, hun. That must have been very scary at the time. Can imagine because things happen so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good though, because at least finally I got answers, right? They could
I agree
do
with you.
all those tests, which so necessary as a starting point. And that's what I think you and I both want people to know. It's a place to start. The journey never
Exactly.
ends.
Oh, it never ends. That's for
There's always
sure.
another level, right?
Oh, exactly, exactly. And a lot of people that I also work with, the liver holds stores a lot of the anger and those emotions, and the pancreas is for people that feel like they don't know what their purpose is or they're over giving as well. But there's a lot of different sets of emotions in other parts of the body as well that we don't realize, but they get stored there to protect us and to keep us alive and keep us thriving, but over time they get tired, just like we do, given unkind circumstances. But that can all be changed completely. Like that could be totally. You can take control of your life, and you can absolutely make a difference to yourself and other people around you.
Yeah. Yeah. The body is, I like to say, the unconscious mind, and it's going to hold on to something until you meet the mentor or you have
Mm-hmm.
the tools or there's a really compelling reasons why it's good to have a vision for your health that creates that compelling reason to make the changes you need to do. Like, do you want to live to 110 and be there for your great grandchildren, right? this is
Right.
this is part of that process. Is will that be a compelling future for you, and that will pull you forward to make the changes that you need to and give you the courage to overcome a lot of the learned patterns. Yeah.
Exactly. And even like I was raised Irish Catholic. So my dad was Catholic Irish and my mom was Protestant. So that was interesting because they believe different things. But, growing up, you have that guilt, that religious guilt. And then I remember when I was leaving my ex, I remember I realized in this like vision or this intuition I had that even God wouldn't want me to live this way. Like, yeah, I stayed there because of my background and my ethics, but then I was thinking, whoa, no. When people make their own decisions, I have the opportunity to make my own decisions too. So that's where I moved on from that, which was, after 20 years, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
so it
Well
was
done.
hard. Thank you. And but then I cascaded other emotions in me with guilt and things from the past, and then that's where I stored that emotions. And I think I probably developed a cyst from that because I was so upset with myself.
Um,
Um, and yeah, and that's where I sort of decided to have different procedures done to myself to get rid of it, but I didn't have the courage at the time to use my innate wisdom or the knowledge or the supports to go a different route. And I had when I got pregnant, so I already had that foundation. But I should have, looking back, I should have maybe reached out and tried a different way. But at the time, it was what it was. it was
Well,
quite painful still.
Jenny, you do the best you can with the information you have at that moment. And
Exactly.
thank you for sharing like such a vulnerable story. And um, if I could add, like a cyst psychosomatically is something that you're hiding from yourself. And nobody wants to feel that guilt and shame and all those emotions when you don't even
No.
know where it came from. It's just within you, actually. There's a saying, if you bring forth what is within you, it will save you. If you do not, it will destroy you. And so, at
Mm,
some way, you need to get in touch with the fact that your body has something and deal with
I
it,
love
however you
that.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, exact. That's the whole thing. I agree with you. And that's what I love. That's why working with clients, like some of them don't know that past, but I have to learn myself still to this day to be more vulnerable. And even going live, like I wasn't raised to do all that with computers or anything. So it's been fun.
You're farther ahead than me, so well done.
But it's a big learning curve as well with technology, and AI and everything. But it's fun. And I think though, if the more I think this year though, I really am trying to connect and collaborate with practitioners like yourself or other clients and just not make it so like impersonal with texting and, just like you don't know the person behind that. And I love doing the videos like this and interacting. I think people need that connection again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The connection, I mean, we live on connection. That's what love is. They know that from studies. A baby who isn't loved doesn't thrive. So,
Right? Yeah, exactly. And it's the documentaries on the monkey, even the monkey that, or the babies that, like, yeah, they have one that's coddled a lot and one that isn't. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and that's
Interesting.
yeah, that's an emotional diet. It's a
Right?
necessity. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love what we've talked about today, how all the emotions in our body, like, so we want to stop using food more as a comfort, but use it and think of it as like a nourishment to your body, something that you'll enjoy and love, but that will give you the nourishment and the vitality you need to achieve your goals in your life and do what you want to do, right? So it's food isn't a bad thing. And even when you have something you shouldn't, it's not meant to make you feel guilty or shameful. It's meant to think, yeah, I can have this, but then you can't, but then you have to change that reward system to something else as well, because, or you're having treats all the time,
Yeah.
you know,
I
causing
think
other troubles.
what I heard you saying is like you'd be eating by eating with guilt if you're eating something that's not sustainable, right? And so
Yeah,
on a physical level, you're getting a food that you don't think is good for you. And on an emotional level, you're feeding yourself guilt, which is a biochemistry that's depleting,
that's
right?
right.
So,
That's right. All the lower chakra emotions are very depleting.
yeah.
Fear, guilt, even worry and shame. And it's important to get rid of those emotions for sure. And we all go through things. I think it's important though to still complement that with good, nourishing activities too, or reach out to people that, we might want some to talk to, even Tracy and myself, or, a therapist, or perhaps even like a friend or family member that you feel comfortable with. No one's ever alone, and there's always support systems to help you as well.
Yeah. And we need each other. We need to learn from our stories. Like that's the way that our unconscious mind really learns is that story.
Yeah,
Been
exactly.
traditions, decades and centuries of tradition around that.
That's right. Yeah, that can go back into like a whole with our genes and our history and ancestry thing. Yeah, and I believe that 100%. And it's amazing. My husband and I were talking about this the other evening, the how like he even looks like his like great grandfather, like, and he has tendencies that way. Like we carry our genes with us, but our genes don't determine our destiny. It's something to be aware of that they can be changed with lifestyle changes and dietary changes.
Absolutely. The epigenetics, and they call it
That's
a
right.
theory, but it's real. Which genes are you going to express? It's like a seed, and how are you watering it? Guilt would be like acid rain, whereas love and joy would express it entirely differently in a healthy way.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And I love our talk today. It's so expansive and it's so supportive and it's so like beautiful. And I would love to do this again with you sometime soon, and I will check my Facebook and my Instagram to see maybe it's on my end, see why it's not working to
Oh
bring
no,
you
I
on there. That'd be
you're doing amazing. You're out there doing it, so I love it. Yeah, there's
Thank
always more
you.
to say though.
Oh, there always is. And then like perhaps we'll talk about it offline too, but I think we could think of other collaborations and maybe some other ideas too.
Yeah, my favorite topic, talking about all the levels of, mind, body, soul. So, yeah.
Right? Exactly. And I love it, like even like when we deal with like different aspects of our lives, that we can give so much to education to other people and hope to that they can change their lives from our experiences, even if we have the courage to be a little vulnerable with them. Um, it really connects with them and makes a huge difference in their lives too.
Yeah. Yeah. Then they realize they're not the only one going through that and felt that. And yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. And did you have anything, would you like to add anything else to do with emotional responses or eating or stopping to mindless eat or any connection with anything at all that you'd like to add as well to our talk today?
Yeah, typically when it comes to that energy center, which is the solar plexus, which is where a lot
Hmm.
of the digestion is, I have found there's about four patterns. Like people will eat because they feel isolated,
Hmm.
and the energy they need to overcome that would be courage, right? To get
Mm,
out and connect with others. The second thing would be that exploding feeling, right? Impatience. And whereas patience is the counter to that. So it's tuning in and realizing that there's a backlog there. Um,
yes.
Third would be that always wanting more, that craving,
Mm,
always wanting more, and satisfaction, tuning into the feeling of satisfaction can help people with that. Like,
yes.
where do you feel satisfied in your life? And in a moment that can calm that nervous system when you give it those we'll call it higher emotions, but then I'll just say more sustainable emotional.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
And then yeah, craving for a good feeling. A little different than
Mm,
wanting more. In other words, you're wanting to feel satiated. Craving for a good feeling is someone who, there's so many people out there, they're feeling so many things from their past experiences. I mean, a lot of people have been through some horrible things. And
yes.
I believe there was one writer that said, I've been through some really horrible things in my life, and some of them were even real. Because what are we
Yeah.
doing with our minds, right?
Right?
So when people have that loop going in a negative pattern, it's to, break themselves out of it. And so they can feel good, listening to your self-talk and getting into that feeling of fulfillment, of
Hmm.
gratitude for what you have. So that would just be, those are kind of the patterns that I've noticed. And that would be
Hmm.
kind of the way to get out of it is how can I focus on having courage to connect, having the patience with myself, feeling satisfied. What area of my life am I satisfied in? Where do I feel fulfilled and grateful?
I love that. So every sort of negative emotion, what I'm hearing is you can do a opposite to that
Yeah, you
and
can
lean into
pivot
that, right?
if you can, you
Yeah,
can think greater than you're feeling in that moment. If you can come up
right.
with something, a thought, right? Because thought precedes the feeling. If you can come up with
Yes.
a thought that will lead you in the direction of having courage, of having patience, of feeling satisfied, fulfilled, and grateful.
To increase your vibes in your body, which changes your choices of who you hang out with or what you eat,
Yeah, yeah,
which also alters the biochemistry in your body that actually changes right down to your mitochondria in your cell. It changes your telomeres length. It also changes your liver can regenerate itself and everything works better with how you're feeling and your choices you make to empowerment and confidence and also more stability and vitality for your life of who you want to become
yeah,
little by little.
yeah.
Those
Working
are
on
great
all
tips.
levels, brain, body, and being.
Yes, I love that. Brain, body, and being.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. I love how you worded that. I would like to just talk about just we'll have to break this up into minis. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, it can be a lot for people, and they need to start first with that body portion, that physical. If you can get your chemistry
exactly,
balanced, that
that's
is an
right.
important first step, right?
I agree with you.
It's so key.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I actually feel that strongly about it too. Like I feel like it's the key cornerstone foundation, like the first step.
yeah,
Because once you commit to yourself and you can do that, then it gives you more confidence and you can do other things and you make other changes and you actually gravitate towards more like higher vibes in your life of what you want.
yeah. You're taking full responsibility for your body, which means now you can create better.
Exactly. Exactly. And Tracy, so you also, just to recap, so you also help people with the bioenergetics and the connection between the mind body,
Absolutely.
the brain body, and how did you
Being,
say the
I call it.
being? Yeah, being. Thank you. I was going to say spirit, but that's not right. The being. And I love that. I'm like the bean for me, jelly bean and the being.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, and so what we can do, like if you want to reach out to myself, to Jenny, myself, or Tracy, just comment below, and we'll be very happy to talk with you on a one-on-one, and then you can pick a service, or we can customize something for you, package, and then we can go from there. How does that sound?
yeah. For anyone, I particularly enjoy working with people with cancer just because I'd been on that journey. And Jenny,
Okay,
you've had people who were um, unable to have a child, and that's, where we usually start because that's, we've totally experienced the entire journey. So, I mean, definitely whatever resonates, whatever point you're at, this might be for anyone out there listening, somewhere to start, right?
it's
And
a starting
always
point.
happy to have a conversation.
Right? Exactly. And it's funny because I started with fertility, but now I also work with clients like with any kind of hormonal, like perimenopause, menopause. So it's like, all the clients are dealing with either like grief or some kind of emotional eating too. So
Yeah,
it's funny how it's a type, but not like an age group necessarily that I thought I would have to have in the beginning when
yeah,
I first started, but no.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, exactly. You start with something that you know really, really well, and yeah,
But I think I would love to like that's my for sure. I want to do that for like I'd like to focus more on the fertility part, but we're open like clients of all different backgrounds and ages are coming forth, which is fine, and I embrace and I love them for it. So
yeah,
yeah, so it definitely keeps us on our toes for sure.
yeah. That foundation, metabolic balance and eating, that's going to help everyone. So,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So we want to make sure that the client can work with us on any level that they want
yeah,
and wherever they are in their life just to start, and that's all we can ask really. Just start and reach out, and that's a great opportunity to take advantage of that with us as well.
absolutely. So, it's been a
Well,
pleasure today, Jenny.
you
Thank you for
too.
wanting to get together and connect.
I agree. This has been fun, and it's been a wonderful experience for me talking with you live as well. Well, trying to do live, but on Zoom, it's still amazing. And then we'll try again.
Yeah, we'll just keep going. That's how it's done.
That's right. And thank you for sharing your story. It was beautiful and lovely, and I know a lot of viewers will get a lot of out of what you're saying as well.
So, and you too. So,
Thank you. And you have
okay.
a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.